I've often thought about how thin the line is between love and betrayal, between desire and regret. My name is Laurel, and I'm a woman caught in the web of my own making, where infidelity lurks just beyond the door of my heart. It's not a place I wanted to find myself, but sometimes, even the strongest of us can falter in the face of temptation. David and I had built a life together that many would envy. We had a quaint little house on the outskirts of town, a garden that he loved to tend, and a dog named Max who followed us around like a loyal shadow. Our evenings were filled with laughter, shared meals, and dreams of the future. But somewhere along the way, the spark that once ignited our passion began to flicker, almost imperceptibly, until it was a mere glimmer. It all started one quiet evening when David was away on a business trip. I was at home, wrapped in the comfort of my solitude, when my phone buzzed with a message. It was Jake, a coworker from my office, whose playful banter had been a source of amusement for me over the past few months. I thought nothing of it at first. He was charming, yes, but harmless. I responded out of boredom, the conversation quickly turning flirtatious. The allure of Jake was intoxicating, like a glass of fine wine after a long day. He was everything David wasn't: adventurous, spontaneous, and utterly confident. We exchanged messages late into the night, laughter punctuating our texts as I reveled in the thrill of our connection. It felt good to be desired, to flirt with danger, and I thought it would end there. Just harmless fun. But the next night, when David called to check in, I felt a pang of guilt wash over me. I forced a smile, listening to his voice as he told me about his meetings. I tried to shake off the feelings of disloyalty that crept in, the knowledge that I was betraying the man who had promised to love me forever. Yet, the more I interacted with Jake, the more intoxicating it became. The night of David's return, I couldn't help but feel on edge. I had seen Jake again, and there was a spark, a chemistry that I could no longer deny. My heart raced as I prepared dinner, the scent of roasted chicken filling the air while I rehearsed the evening's small talk. David walked in, his arms filled with gifts he had brought back for me, and I plastered on a smile, but inside I was torn. It wasn't long before Jake suggested we meet for drinks. The idea thrilled me, igniting a fire within that I had long thought extinguished. I justified it, telling myself it would be innocent, just a couple of drinks among friends. David would never need to know. So I agreed, my heart racing with anticipation and fear. Our rendezvous took place in a trendy little bar downtown. The atmosphere was electric, filled with the soft glow of candles and the murmur of conversations blending into a symphony of intimacy. When I walked in, Jake's eyes lit up, and I felt the rush of adrenaline surge through me. He was handsome, with tousled dark hair and a smile that made my knees weak. I was drawn to him like a moth to a flame. We talked, laughed, and shared stories that night, our chemistry undeniable. As the hours slipped away, the drinks flowed, and I lost track of my resolve. The air around us crackled with tension, and before I knew it, we were huddled close, whispering secrets that only lovers should share. In a moment of reckless abandon, I leaned in closer, feeling the warmth of his body, his breath brushing against my cheek. The world around us faded, and all that remained was the pulsating desire that surged between us. I could feel my heart hammering in my chest, drowning out the voice of reason that warned me to turn back. Jake reached out, his fingers brushing against my arm, igniting a spark that coursed through my veins. My body responded instinctively, a heat radiating from within that I couldn't suppress. I was losing myself, spiraling deeper into the chaos of what we were doing. With each stolen glance and shared laugh, I edged closer to the precipice of temptation. The night reached a crescendo as Jake leaned in, his lips brushing against mine in a kiss that stole my breath away. It was electric and intoxicating, a rush of passion that swept me off my feet. I kissed him back, surrendering to the moment, consumed by the heat of desire. In that instant, everything else faded away, the guilt, the fear, and even the love I had for David. But as I pulled back, reality crashed over me like a cold wave. The weight of what I had done hung heavy in the air, suffocating and bitter. I couldn't believe I had betrayed my husband. Panic surged through me, and I excused myself, leaving Jake with a promise that we would see each other again. Driving home that night felt surreal. I could hardly focus on the road, my mind spinning with guilt and regret. David was asleep when I slipped into our bed, the soft sound of his breathing a stark reminder of the trust one had shattered. I lay there, my heart aching, tears stinging my eyes. I wanted to be the faithful wife he believed I was, but the memory of Jake's kiss lingered on my lips, an uninvited reminder of my betrayal. The days turned into weeks, and the thrill of my infidelity faded, replaced by a heavy shroud of guilt that wrapped around me. I struggled to face David, to look him in the eyes without feeling the weight of my deception. Each time he kissed me, I felt like a fraud, like an actress playing a role I no longer believed in. But Jake wouldn't let me go that easily. He texted, called, and even showed up at my office, where his presence ignited that same spark of attraction. It was a dangerous game, and I found myself ensnared, drawn to him like a moth to the flame. I tried to resist, but the allure of our connection was too strong, and I found myself spiraling further into a world of infidelity. One night, as I sat alone in my living room, staring at the photographs of happier times with David, I felt the weight of my choices crashing down on me. I missed the love we had shared, the intimacy that had once filled our lives. I knew I had to make a decision, a choice between the comfort of a familiar love and the thrill of a forbidden desire.
Finally, I picked up the phone and called Jake. My heart raced as I told him I couldn't do this anymore. I didn't want to be the woman who hurt the one she loved. I couldn't live a lie any longer. As the words left my mouth, I felt a sense of relief wash over me, as if I were shedding the skin of the woman I had become. The following days were agonizing as I faced the reality of my choices. I needed to be honest with David. The thought of his reaction terrified me, but I couldn't continue living in the shadows of deceit. So, I mustered the courage to tell him everything. That evening, I sat him down, my heart pounding in my chest. I took a deep breath and poured out my confession, each word laced with regret. David's expression shifted from confusion to heartbreak, his eyes filled with betrayal. The pain etched on his face was a knife to my heart, and I felt like the worst kind of monster. He listened quietly, the silence hanging heavy between us as the weight of my infidelity sank in. I watched as his shoulders slumped, the realization washing over him that the life we had built together was now in ruins. I begged for his forgiveness, tears streaming down my cheeks, but I knew it was a long road ahead. Trust is a fragile thing, and I had shattered it. Days turned into weeks as we navigated the aftermath of my betrayal. We attended counseling together, trying to rebuild what had been lost. There were moments of hope, but also times when the pain resurfaced, leaving us both raw and vulnerable. Slowly, we began to find our footing again. David showed remarkable strength as he worked through his feelings, and I was committed to earning back his trust. It wasn't easy, and I often found myself haunted by the ghost of my choices. But I refused to let my past define me. I wanted to be the woman David deserved. In time, we rediscovered the spark that had brought us together. We went on adventures, laughed over silly moments, and rekindled the intimacy that had once defined our love. With each passing day, the shadows of temptation grew fainter, replaced by the strength of our renewed commitment. I learned that love is not just a feeling but a choice, a daily decision to stand by the one you love, even when it's hard. And while the scars of my infidelity would always remain, they served as a reminder of how easily one can stray from the path. Through this tumultuous journey, I realized that love is about vulnerability, honesty, and forgiveness. David and I emerged stronger than before, bound by a love that had weathered the storm. The shadows of temptation still lingered, but we had learned to embrace the light, choosing each other every day. And as I lay in bed beside him, watching the peaceful rise and fall of his chest, I knew that despite the darkness I had brought into our lives, we had fought to reclaim the love that was worth fighting for.